I'm Susan Yates. I'm an author and speaker, and I'm so excited to talk to you today. I'm standing here in our family room in front of my family wall. These are pictures of each of my 5 kids. The top one is each of them in their wedding, and then I have just the second frame underneath matches each child above, and it's just different scenes from their life. And I put these together years and years ago. And it's just a fun memory for me, for my kids. And it actually has something to do with what I want to talk to you about today. I am so excited because I have a brand new book that is just out. It's called Cousin Camp. And it's really a guide to how to host a camp for your grandkids or how to host a family reunion of any type for anyone. And that's what we're going to talk about today. As many of you know, we have been married 50 years. We have 5 children. They're all married. And we have 21 grandchildren. Yeah, I know, that's a little crazy. But we do, and we are grateful, and we're blessed. Years ago, when John and I started our family, we began to pray even then through the coming generations. We wanted our kids and our grandkids to, first of all, love the Lord with all their heart, mind, and soul. And then secondly, we wanted them to love their neighbor as ourselves, the 2 great commandments. And in the terminology neighbor, I think you think your nuclear family. If you're married, you think your wife or your husband. Then you think your children. And then you begin to think your grandchildren later. So as we began to dream about this, we wondered, how can we help facilitate this vision? So as our grandchildren started to come along, we decided that we would have one time a year when we would have what we called a cousin camp. And we would invite the children from the different families to come together with us for 3 nights and 4 days. This would be a time in which the purpose was for us to have time alone with our grandkids without their parents, and for the cousins to get to know each other because our kids are spread out. They don't all live in the same town. So our first year for Cousin Camp, we had 5 children from 3 different families. Here's our very first Cousin Camp. And it was really fun. Then most recently, we had our 11th camp. Here's a picture from a couple of years ago when we had all 21 grandchildren with us for camp. Now, in our camp, you have to be 4 years old to come. Everybody's situation is different, but we wanted to have time with kids that were kind of potty trained, generally slept through the night, were beginning to learn to obey. And a wise friend of mine who had been doing this for years said, Susan, don't let them come until they're 4. Now, that's not right for everybody, but it has been right for us, and it's been a great thing. So what does Cousin Camp look like? And how do we even go about having a camp or a reunion? You may be thinking, my family's a mess. I don't know how to pull this off. Or there's this one relative that I don't get along with. How could we have a family reunion or a cousin camp? Well, my book is divided into 3 sections. And the first section is what you need to know before. And it deals with just these issues. You know, the reality is all families are messy. There is not one family that has it all together. And we have to learn how to let grace rule. How do we establish realistic expectations and yet prepare ourselves for those surprises? I remember at our first camp, I was so excited. I had my house very clean. I had flowers out. I even put flowers in the bathroom. I wanted my children to be impressed when they dropped their kids off for camp. So I called my friend Elaine and I said, Elaine, come down and see my house. It's just perfect. She came down and went through the house with me and oohed and awed. And then the kids arrived. And the cousins piled in. And within 10 minutes, backpacks, boots, shoes, mud covered the floors. Nobody noticed my clean house, and furthermore, nobody cared. I called Elaine back and said, you got to come over and see the mess. It was a total mess. And I just needed a girlfriend who could understand. So Elaine came back over and we laughed. And at that moment, I realized, okay, I have a choice to make. Did I want a clean house or did I want happy kids? And I chose happy kids. And never, ever since that first camp have I cleaned my house before camp. It's not realistic. So that's just a funny little vignette on the fact that you will have expectations, but a lot of times surprises will overwhelm those unrealistic expectations. Let me describe our camp. Our kids come from different places. We have a little farm, so we host our camp at our farm. And they arrive in time for dinner and an opening ceremony the first night. One of the most popular things that we have done is called the buddy system, where we pair up an older cousin with a younger cousin. And this has been another surprise to me, that the kids love the buddy system. And each year, each spring, I get a call. Who's going to be my buddy this year, Gee? Whose buddy can I be? I never imagined this would be so popular. The reason we did it really was for self-preservation. Buddies have several jobs. The older buddy teaches the newbie kid, the camper who's there for the first time, how to fill his own water bottle, how to push the stool up to the sink. The big buddy helps with the buffet suppers. The big buddy helps during Bible study. They do anything I ask them to do to help their little buddies. And the kids really love this. I post a chart of all the buddies on the kitchen cabinets, and they run to that kitchen cabinet right when they get to camp to find out who their buddy is. There are many things like the buddy system that you will find in the book, describing how we do everything from morning Bible study to creative rest times to special activities. We always have a scavenger hunt or an obstacle course. One of our very first traditions that we started has to do with a gutter. I went to the hardware store and just bought a roof gutter and lined it with aluminum foil, and we made Warren County's largest banana split. We put ice cream all down the foil and then whipped cream and different toppings and cherries. And the first year I did it, I told the kids they couldn't use their hands. They had to put their hands behind their back and put their faces in it. Well, that only lasted a year. They decided that was gross, appropriately so. And from then on, we let them use spoons. But that has become sort of a camp staple, and the kids know that they're going to have the largest banana split in our county every year at camp. Another fun thing that we've done that you can do anywhere with any age kid is we have nicknames. So for us, the last day of camp, every camper decides their nickname. You can choose nicknames at the beginning of camp to last all of camp, but that's too complicated for me. So we simply choose them the last day of camp. And then what we do is, as the parents come in, we have a closing camp ceremony. The parents come in. One of the things that we do amongst many skits to welcome the parents is we have them guess which child has which nickname. So we'll call out one nickname and they'll all have to guess, who is it, who is it? And the little kids just roar when we do this. This is something that works for everybody, and each year they choose different nicknames and the parents try to guess which one. Another special activity we have done has to do with Father's Day, because often our camp coincides with Father's Day. So one year we put those shower caps that you get at hotels, you know, for free, on each child's head, and we blindfolded all of the dads. And we put the kids, all 21 of the kids, in a line. And the dads had to feel the face blindfolded and guess which child belonged to them. It was hysterical. So those are just two examples. I have slews of examples in the book of things that we've done like that. I also have some optional Bible studies you can take in print. One of the things that I've done in the beginning of this book, which I'm really excited about, is right in the middle of the book, chapter 5, in fact, is your working chapter. What I've found so often is when we read a book, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And we get to the end of the book and we're just too overwhelmed and too exhausted to implement anything in it. So what I've chosen to do in this book is to put your working chapter right in the middle of the book, where this chapter has a lot of white space. It has questions to guide you in planning your event, the who, the when, the where, the how, the why, the finances, who's going to do what. Everything is there. And you will have already read about how we've done it. So this is simply to adapt to your unique situation. As I mentioned, we have a little farm, so we have our camp, our cousin camp at the farm every June when the weather is pretty much guaranteed. You don't have to have a farm to have a camp. Friends of ours have had camps in apartments, in cities, any place will work. So this book is really not about how to copy the Yateses. Few of you will have 21 grandchildren. Most of you will not have a farm. but the book is easily transferable into your situation. So in chapter 5, you begin to apply what you've learned in the previous 4 chapters to your situation. And then the subsequent chapters in the book are a chapter with more traditions that you might want to choose. And the idea is that you will just circle what is appropriate for you and move it back to chapter 5. And then the third section of the book is what others have done, where you get a lot of different suggestions. For example, I tell the story of a single gal friend of mine, an aunt who's in her late 40s, who lives in the UK, who has started a camp for her nieces and nephews. She's very close to them, and for neighborhood kids. And she runs this every summer, and this aunt is the favorite aunt as she's making an impact in the lives of her nieces and nephews. I tell the story of a couple who decided to start a cousin camp, and they wanted to start with 3 of their grandchildren from 3 different families. They all live in the same town, but even if you live in the same town, sometimes it's hard to see one another. So they decided their first one should just be for 24 hours. So they took these 3 little first cousin girls away for 24 hours and did special things with them. And that was a tremendous success for them. I have another friend who wanted to have a larger family reunion, not merely just focusing on grandchildren or cousins, but encompassing a large group. And many of the people in her family had a military heritage. And so she fashioned the theme of a military, honoring our military in our veterans camp. And people came in camouflage. She made books with some old family pictures of some of those who had served in the different wars. And she had competitions based on military type events. And that was a tremendous success because everybody came with something in common. So the third part of the book is really, you can do anything, anywhere, with anyone. Just to encourage you to broaden your vision and to begin to host a family event that will impact future generations. That's what we want to do. We want to see our future generations love Christ and love one another. So I hope you'll click the button on the site and order a copy of this book for you and anyone else, any grandparents you know, or anyone else in your family or other families that might like to host an event. And I hope it's a tremendous amount of fun for you. And I'd love to hear from you how it goes. So email me and let me know. Thanks so much for listening.